All right, welcome to lesson 111, 111 today. We are going to be talking about estimating perimeter and area. That is what we're going to do. We're not going to do volume today. We're just going to talk about how to estimate perimeter and area. So the last couple of days we've talked about perimeter, we've talked about area. You learned about that at the beginning of the year as well. So there's lots of things that we need to just discuss when it comes to perimeter and area. And one of those things is, how do we estimate that? If we had a figure that looked like this and it didn't give us any numbers on the side, then how are we going to figure out what the perimeter of this is? Okay, so there are a couple tricks that we can do. I'm going to make this a red so you can see it. Okay, so we usually use a grid. On all of your homework problems in the textbook, all the tests that you'll see when you're asked to estimate something, you'll have a grid, okay? This is 1 unit by 1 unit. So your grid is full of squares that look like this. Does that make sense? These are 1 by 1. 1 unit by 1 unit. They're not inches, they're not centimeters, we just call them units because that's just, we don't really know if it's an inch or a square or a foot or whatever, right? It depends on what the picture is. But we just call them units for today's lesson and for your homework, okay? So we are just going to estimate, which means to kind of guess what the perimeter of this object is, okay? So for sure right here, that's 1, right? And then it goes from here to here, that's 1. From here to here, that's 1. From here to here, that's 1. From here to here, we're not really sure, but it's probably about 1, right? It looks like it's about the same length as that one, so we'll put a 1 there. Same with that one, it's about 1. This one, it's about 1. We're going to skip that, and we'll go down here. This one is about 1. This looks like half, and that looks like half, so altogether, it's about 1. Okay? So if we're estimating the perimeter, we would say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The perimeter is about 9 units. The perimeter is about 9 units. Okay? I want you to be able to see what I did there, because on your homework, you're going to have to do this 3 times. You're going to have to do 3 area and 3 perimeters. We'll talk about area in just a minute. Okay? So let's talk about that real quick one more time. See how I went from this side all the way to that side? This is 1. This line is 1. This line is 1. Do you see all these lines on here? Those are all 1. So when I go from here to here, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, about 5, about 6, about 7. I'm going to combine these two. 7.5, 8, 9. That's how I find the perimeter. Okay? Now let's talk area. 1 square unit is one of these boxes filled in. That filled all the way in is 1 square unit. So when you are trying to find how many units, the area of this, you're going to have to figure out how many squares are completely filled in. Well, this one is completely filled in, so that's 1. This one is not completely filled in, right? But if we add this little piece, put it right there, then it is filled in. Okay? So we're going to say this is 1. These 2 combined is about 2. And let's just say these 2 combined is about 3. These 2 combined is about 4. So the answer would be area is 4 square units. Okay? On your homework, I'm not going to try to trick you. I'm not going to say your answer choices are 4, 4.5, 5, or 5.5. Because then you're like, well, I don't know. It could be 4. It could be 4.5. It's just, it's kind of hard. I'm not going to trick you. I promise. If this were the homework, if this said, what's the area? Your homework answers would be 1, 4, 13, or 17. Okay? Obviously, it's not 1, and it's not as big as 13, so your answer is going to be 4. Okay, I promise I'm not trying to trick you. You're just going to look at the shape. You're going to look at the shape, and then you're going to just guess about, for perimeter, about how many of these ones do we have, and then for area, how many full squares do we have that are all the way filled in. Okay, we're going to practice one more example. We're going to go, if you have your book with you, we're going to skip the next page. We're going to go to lesson practice A. Lesson practice A. Okay, B is way too hard, so we are not doing B. Whoops. We are just doing A. Okay, so let's estimate the perimeter, and then we're going to estimate the area. So perimeter, remember, see these little boxes, right? This is 1 for a perimeter. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So the perimeter would be about 13 units. Remember, we're talking about units here. Okay, if this was your homework problem, the answer choices would be 9 units, 13 units, 19 units, or 45 units. Okay, so I'm not going to try to trick you. I'm not going to put 12, 12 and a half, 13, 13 and a half. Okay, so as long as you understand the basics of this, you should be fine. Okay, the area of this figure, so we are going to look at how many of these blue squares are all the way filled in. Okay, so let's start. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger, and we're going to go maroon here. Okay, so we've got 1 here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 are totally filled in. 6 are totally filled in. And then if I do these two together, this little piece right here probably fits right there, right? So I'm going to say this counts as 1, so 7. And these two count as 1, so 8. And then I'm going to say these two count as 1, because they're both about half-ish. Okay, so we've got 6, 7, 8, 9. So the area is 9. Wow, that is huge. 9 square units. Again, your answer choices on your homework will be something like 3 square units, 9 square units, 21 square units. So as long as you're close, you'll be fine. Remember, estimating means guessing. So I'm not going to play the game, guess what's in my mind. Okay? So as long as you kind of know what you're doing, as long as you have a pretty good idea of how to estimate, you should be fine. Okay, I promise the homework will be easier than you think. Okay, we are going to just practice one more thing. We're going to go to just another document, and we're going to practice something that you'll see on your homework. You have 4 problems on your homework about multiples and factors. Multiples and factors. So we talked a little bit about this, I think on Monday, about multiples, multiples and factors. You need to know the difference between the two, okay? When you have a random number, okay? Let's say we have this number, let's do 20. That's our number that we're working with right now. This is just our example, okay? When you are trying to find multiples of 20, you're going to start with 20 because 20 times 1 is 20. Then you're going to do 20 times 2, which is 40. 20 times 3, which is 60. In other words, you're counting by that number. So 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120, 140, 160, 180, right? If I was counting by 20s, I would get these numbers. So multiples get bigger. You're counting by that number, and they're going to be bigger. The only multiple that is the same is the very first one. Your multiple is always going to be whatever number you're working with, because you can always do that number times 1. And then everything else is going to be getting bigger. Factors of 20. The biggest factor of 20 is 20. Okay, so the numbers essentially get smaller. It's just an easy way for your brain to think about it. So When it's multiples, that's the small, 20 is the smallest multiple of 20. Okay, when you're talking factors, 20 is the biggest factor. And we are going to figure out what times what equals 20. So 20 times what equals 20? Well, 1. Okay, so 1 is a factor and 20 is a factor. Can we multiply anything else to get 20? Okay, come on. I'm going to get rid of this. All right, so we don't want to miss any, so let's just start. Can we do 2 times anything? Yeah, 2 times 10, right? So I've got 1, 2. Can we do 3 times anything to get 20? No. Can I do 4 times something to get 20? Yeah, I could do 4 times 5. That's 20. And then once these numbers match up, there's not a number in between 4 and 5, right? Then you know those are all of your factors. So the factors of 20 are 1, 2, 4, 5, 10, and 20. Okay, so think about it. Multiples, you're counting by that number. The numbers are getting bigger. Factors, you're figuring out what times what equals that number. I want all of the numbers that I can multiply by another number to get whatever number we're talking about. For this example, we used the number 20. Okay, so on your homework, you are going to need to know the multiples of 10 and the multiples of 6. And you're also going to need to know the factors of 10 and the factors of 6. Okay, good luck on your homework. We will have a review day tomorrow. We are reviewing for our test that will be on Friday, and you are going to need to know how to do multiples and factors on that test. So make sure you pay attention to your homework and make sure you're understanding the homework as you're doing it. Good luck with today's homework, and I will talk to you guys later.